Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting for the Ballston Spa Central School District Board of Education for October 15th. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all those watching on the live stream. I'd like to welcome those who are here in person. For those of you who are here in person, if for any reason we had to evacuate the library, there is the main entrance into the hallway, and behind me in either corner are doors that lead outside. Just like to briefly touch on last Friday, we had our street fair and homecoming event, and it was just a great event, a lot of community participation, a lot of student, staff, parent, caregiver participation, and just want to thank all those who were involved in making it happen, and it truly was a great event for the entire community. And with that, recognition.
Thank you very much. So to piggyback on that, I'd like to offer a special thanks to our two members here, Karina and Tina Marie. Fantastic job. The pep rally, I was able to go. It was awesome. I joked with them at the street fair, way better than last year. Good job. Just super organized, fun. The kids were super engaged. Staff participated. Fun event for everybody. And the street fair was phenomenal as well. So thank you to our members of student government, everyone who participated, all the different community organizations that were there. Just a fantastic overall day. Right into the football game, big win. So just a great culmination to homecoming week. I heard the dance was really successful as well. About 600 people, 600 students showed up for the dance. So that's a big dance. And also the other second piece of recognition this week, this is actually Board Appreciation or Board Recognition Week. So the New York State School Boards Association recognizes October 14th to 18th as School Board Recognition Week. This is a time to promote awareness and understanding of the important work performed by local school boards. Public schools form the bedrock of our communities and our country. Democracy thrives with educated citizens capable of critical thinking and civil discourse. And it is our local school boards who are ultimately responsible for student success. And so it takes a strong school board to build a strong community, and our board members devote countless hours to making sure our schools are helping every child learn at a higher level. They make tough decisions every month and spend many hours studying educational issues and regulations in order to provide the kind of accountability and community stakeholders expect. So I'm just very honored and pleased that our board has an active role in the following areas, all aimed at raising student achievement, so developing a shared vision and goals for the district, ensuring strategies, resources, policies, and programs in line with district goals, assessing and providing accountability for student achievement, supporting a healthy student district culture in which to work and learn, evaluating the superintendent to ensure continuous improvement, and much more. And so on behalf of all of our district stakeholders, thank you all for your continued dedication to providing a high-quality education to all our students. So thank you. Happy Board Recognition Week. And that does conclude recognition.
Well, when we have this lovely bag full of appreciative items, including tote bag, monogrammed Ballston Spa Scotties on it. Love it. And for all our hard work we're doing, this apron to put on so we don't get dirty while we're doing it. And very much thank all who were involved in putting this together for us. Right?
Yes, very much so.
Very much so. I'll be wearing it at a board meeting probably at some point. All right, no, thank you very much.
You.
It's wonderful to be recognized. It's an honor to serve our community, and we are volunteers and we're here because we want to be. So that's why we're here. First time for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? We do not. our student government report. Karina and Tina Marie, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. We are thrilled to report back on the success of our homecoming week activities. On Friday, the street fair occurred, and it was attended by nearly 30 clubs and businesses district-wide. And on Saturday, the homecoming dance took place and was attended by nearly 600 students.
We have now turned our attention to helping NHS with the running of Scotty's Closet. We have several volunteers going and helping running it. It will take place on the 24th and 25th. And our next upcoming event as student government is the Thanksgiving food drive, where we will be asking the different cohorts to bring in different perishable goods, non-perishable goods to donate. Thank you.
And that's wonderful. Do we have any questions for our student board members? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We have the approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the October 1st, 2025 regular meeting?
So moved.
Any amendments or additions? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Our superintendent's report.
Thank you. We have a few presentations tonight, and I will start it off with Amy Pedrick from Weston Company, who will be reviewing our external audit.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So prior to this meeting, I met with the audit committee and went through the financial statements for the external audit in detail. I'm just going to talk about a little bit about what I do as your external auditor and the results briefly, and then open up for any questions. So as your external auditor, we come in and we do testing on balances as of June 30. We test controls, we review procedures, we confirm some balances with third parties. We do a lot of different procedures to get comfortable with the June 30 financial statement balances that comprise the large, thick document that you guys will either have electronically or provided the bound document that is 73 pages long. I spent a lot of time, about 45 minutes, going through with the audit committee in detail this document. The main thing to kind of know with the financials is that your business office does a great job. The books and records are in excellent shape. Your controls that you have are operating, they're operating well. As a result of the financial statements, we have no findings, we have no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, and we have no management letter comments to note in that document. For those of you that have seen the document in the past, it's pretty much set up the same way. The financial statements start out with the first opinion. So it's our opinion on the financial statements themselves, and it's a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion we give as a profession. Then after that, we have management's discussion and analysis. And that's about 9 pages that allows the reader to pick up this thick document and just peruse a few pages. But one of the things to really remember when you're looking at those 9 pages is that a lot of it is presented on, in accounting, we call the long-term view, the full accrual financial statements, which take into account long-term assets and long-term liabilities that we're required to record per different accounting standards, but is not necessarily indicative of the financial health of the district. And those long-term statements are the first set of statements that you'll see starting on pages 14 and 15. And there's long-term liabilities for post-employment benefits, for pension systems, for your bonds payable, and there's long-term assets for your buildings, your buses, your equipment around there. But again, like I said, it's not indicative of how well you're doing, and nor is it how the district operates or makes management decisions. Those statements that really do show that are on pages 16 and 18. Those are the fund-based financial statements that list out the general fund, the school lunch fund, the capital fund, et cetera. And that shows the different reserves that the district has that kind of help smooth out any changes and fluctuations of things for the retirement system, workers' compensation, unemployment, et cetera. Then after the financial statements, we have footnotes. The footnotes give a lot more, they're like 29 pages long, and they give a lot more explanation specifically to those long-term numbers, the long-term assets, the long-term liabilities. It explains each of the reserves that you guys have, the different funds that you have, so just gives more information. Then there's some supplemental schedules. It compares the general fund budget to actuals for the revenues and the expenditures, so you can see that revenues received were higher than anticipated, and Brian went through with the audit committee the different things that drove that this year, as well as the expenditure side being less than anticipated. Then after those schedules, we have the second part of the audit with the 2 more opinions. So we have to issue a report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. You guys have a separate internal auditor that really digs deep into those internal controls, but we look at them specific to financial reporting, and here we had no significant deficiencies and no material weaknesses. Everything is that the business office does is operating well. We're not proposing any journal entries when we come and do the audit. Everything is very clean. Then, because the district spends more than $750,000 of federal money, we do a compliance audit with grants. So each year we will select different grants based on size, based on risk, but the last few years, because they're new and because they were rolled out pretty quickly, we looked at those ARP and ESSER funds. Those ended for the district this year as of September 30th, but again, we did look at those specifically this year and we had no findings associated with those. And when we look at the grants, we're looking to see, are you spending on items that are allowable per the grant? Are you doing all your required reporting to New York State? And all that stuff was no issues associated with that. Then we have the last part of the audit, which is our audit of the extra classroom activity funds. New York State Education Department requires a separate audit of these funds. That's the student fundraising. They're on a cash basis. So here we do have a qualification, but as I mentioned in the audit committee, our firm audits 28 school districts and 6 BOCES. All of them have the same qualification, and it's just because it's a cash basis. So our audit trail that we audit from starts at the point of deposit into the bank. We can't be at every fundraiser to see that the money that's being collected is what's being deposited, so we're looking from the point of deposit forward. And we're also looking to see the different requirements that New York State has for these clubs. New York State sees these as a way to teach students fiscal responsibility along with doing your fundraising. So students are required to do profit and loss statements on fundraisers. They're not tax exempt. They have to pay sales tax, charge sales tax. So we're looking to make sure all those things are in compliance as well. And we had no issues, no findings, or any comments associated with extra classroom. The controls that you guys have over that are operating well as well, which is a very hard thing to do in a district. Student treasurers are changing, advisors may be changing each year. So you guys really do a great job of keeping up on that and making sure those are in compliance as well. And then, as I mentioned in the audit committee, the one thing that's missing is a management letter comment. Here we would state if we had any comments that we saw throughout the audit that didn't rise to any level of a finding. But as I said in the beginning, we had none of those as well. So a very good, a very clean audit for the district. Is there any items that the audit committee would like me to further discuss, or any questions from board members?
We don't have any specific items to highlight from the audit committee. I don't know if any of the board members have any questions. So the members of the committee receive a hard copy version of said audit. The electronic version is available for all of the board members. And Amy has graciously shared that, at any point if we have any questions
Absolutely.
from any of our reviews of it, we can reach out to her.
Yes, absolutely. And these are required to be filed with the State Education Department, State Controller's Office, and then as well with the federal government. I will certify and Brian will certify that, and then all our filings will be complete for the audit.
So any questions?
All right. Thank you very much.
So also tonight, we have our final 3 building beginning of year goals presentations. So first up, we have Principal Catalgo from Wood Road.
Board members, you should each have.
Is it good if I stand like this? Okay, great. Okay, thank you everybody for having me. Feel in a much different place than I was this time last year, which is a great feeling. Obviously, year one, I kind of set very generic goals, and I told you last year it was really kind of a year of learning for me to kind of take it all in, see what was happening at Wood Road, and then be able to go from there and try to set goals that I felt were a little bit more specific to us. I showed this to my faculty at the beginning of the year when I talked to them about my goals, and I put this graphic up there to really kind of show them my mindset, which is that we are going to focus on the goals and not the obstacles, right? Sometimes I feel like we can get lost in all of the, but what about this, or what about that, or all the obstacles that stand in our way. But at the end of the day, the goal is still the goal, and we have to figure out ways to get through the obstacles to get to the goals. So my goals for the 25-26 school year are in these following categories. We're going to focus on attendance, family and community engagement, reading proficiency, and school culture and climate. At attendance, you heard Dr. Chaucer a couple of weeks ago tell you that as an elementary principal group, we set a common attendance goal. That's really wrapped around making sure that all 4 buildings are doing the same procedures, following the same protocols, and that all of our families are receiving the same messages from us in the same ways. Some of our families are split amongst buildings, and I think there's no greater way for kind of us to see where different things are lacking than when we hear from those families that have kiddos in multiple buildings and things aren't handled necessarily the same way. We have attendance letters that go out, and we want to make sure that the letters are going out for the certain requirements. Everybody's sending them out based on the same requirements. Same letters are going out, and that we are working together to try to meet our neediest families. We have a really great access to attendance data that we can sit and pull together. We can divide it by building. We can divide it by just elementary, and using that to kind of guide our work. Specifically at Wood Road, last year I had set a goal based on attendance, and looking at the numbers, you can see that in the 24-25 school year, our attendance rate hovered right around that 93.4 even, and then our chronic absenteeism number last year did go down, which is good. We want that to happen. And then looking at this year, I set some goals for ourselves. Hopefully we can round up maybe to 94, maybe 94.1 or 2. But as you can see, it's been steady at 93 for quite a few years now, which is not a bad place for us to be. And hoping to maybe potentially drop the chronic absenteeism number using my fellow principals and I working together to try to drop those numbers. Right off the rip, we really did focus on attendance, making phone calls right away, having my counselors even do a couple of home visits right away with chronically absent families from the year prior to try to really kind of get a jump on that. And then last year I had told you that I was going to focus really on K1, thinking that if you set that expectation at the very primary level, it will pay off in the end. So I had pulled these numbers for you in like May of last year, but I didn't have 100% specifics. But this is now my kindergarten chronic absenteeism percentage went down almost 4%, and first grade went down about 3% last year. So I like to say that we are doing the right things. I think we are kind of finally coming out of this post-COVID mindset of school not necessarily no longer really being optional, and like that's something we're going to do every single day, 5 days a week. So that's my goal for attendance. Family and community engagement, again, I feel it's only year 2 for me. I'm still obviously meeting families and kind of establishing myself at Wood Road. It's a big goal for me, for people to know me, see me, think of me as being associated with Wood Road. So really looking to be involved, as always, in the district, throughout the building, obviously, but also throughout the district, using different social media platforms, huge involvement with PTA. I spoke about that a lot in the spring. I have a very, very active PTA. Creating some principals newsletters. I oftentimes don't think I get enough time in front of parents, so creating some quarterly newsletters to go home is an idea of mine. And then really, I obviously want to be able to create more specific goals with family and community engagement, but I really have to get to the families first to find out how they're feeling about it. So last year, there was a lot at the end of year 1. So at the end of year 2, I feel like is a nice time to kind of survey the families. How are you feeling now 2 years in with me leading the way? And what more are they looking for in terms of community engagement? Curriculum and instruction, this is the one I spent the most time planning about. Specifically, this is the one area where I didn't really have a super specific goal last year because I didn't really know ton about what we were working with. So this year I have decided again to focus on my primary grades. We are focusing on reading proficiency and increasing the percentage of students performing at or above grade level. I was speaking with my faculty yesterday, a BLT meeting. I think like in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they start taking state tests and we start seeing these state test scores, and it really shouldn't be too much of a surprise necessarily how they're doing on state tests if you have been paying attention to the data in K1 and 2 as they work their way through. So it's something I want to focus on. In kindergarten, I'm going to use 2 different scores from them at the end. This will all be based off of end of year data. We track their nonsense word fluency, and we're gonna look at 2 different measures, the CLS, which is correct letter sound. So at the end of the year, can they name the correct sound based on the letter? And then words read correctly. So, but these are nonsense words. So you put 3, a CVC word together. It's not necessarily a real word, it's a nonsense word, but it's really how you can tell if they know what the letter is supposed to sound like, and then they can take those individual sounds and put them together into a word. So that's what we're using at kindergarten, and then at 1st and 2nd grade, I'm gonna use their oral reading fluency score. Again, this is all data that we've had for years and years and years to kind of track where they're at. One of the things I focused a lot on was tweaking my master's schedule so that my reading teachers were available more, specifically to my primary grade levels, so that we could really work on the reading data. So again, I set a 3-year goal. I'm trying to set a 3-year goal. The data's kind of all over the place, honestly, if you look at it. I mean, these numbers, 74 to 67 to 71, 77, 74, 78. I mean, there's not really anything super consistent there. I attribute a lot of that to post-COVID and, some kids coming with lots of preschool experience and then other kids having no preschool experience and coming in very low entering kindergarten. But my 3-year goal, I based my goal off of, these are just Wood Road scores. And then I also pulled the 4 elementary school data together, and I based my 3-year goal off of trying to get us closer to the 4 buildings combined goal, if that makes sense. So while it's a big jump for Wood Road, it also puts us closer to what the 4 buildings combined are scoring, which again, I think is important. I really, really stress that it shouldn't matter which school they go to. They should all be getting the best that we have for them. So those are the data points I'm gonna use. Talked about this with my faculty, my reading teachers, constantly going to be in their data cycle meetings, talking to them about how things are going, and hopefully we reach those goals. And then the last one, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Again, this is all about school culture and climate. To me, it's a hard one to necessarily gauge because it's all about the feel of the building and how people feel in it, and if they want to be there. But obviously, there's some steps we can take. Last year, we spent a lot of time revamping the PBIS program. SEL program is continuing in the classrooms. A big push was to bring primary project back this year, so we are doing that with our kindergarten and 1st grade students. Towards the end of the year, we really started school-wide projects, and now starting that sooner in the school year is a goal of ours. And then I'd really like to do some sort of survey with my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders to kind of gauge how they're feeling at the end of every year to have a benchmark to work off of. That's it.
Well, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was wonderful. Questions from
pause.
the board?
I'm sorry, I don't know, but what is the primary project?
Primary project is we have a TA who works with our kindergarten and 1st grade students who come to us a little bit apprehensive, really struggling to kind of break away from home, or mom and dad come to school routinely and kind of build that rapport with the school, kind of give them a safe person. It involves like we have a playroom where it's like a play therapy space where they're playing and they're engaging with an adult, something that they can work towards having that time, something to look forward to every day and to get them to motivate them to come to school. It will also in the end help with our attendance numbers, hopefully, right? As we see kindergarten and first grade being those hard ones, those hard years. I know every day at arrival, it's the little ones who struggle more with getting out of the car and one more hug and one more goodbye and all of those things. So I think, we see over time that giving them something to look forward to here, the teachers do a survey, kindergarten and first grade, and they kind of rank the students in different areas to kind of see where the need is. And then they operate cycles, 6-week cycles, where they are pulled by the primary project TA, and they really build that rapport with them and work with them. Yeah, it's all good. Yep. Go ahead.
Just great presentation. Love the goals, especially love the reading proficiency goal of getting all of the schools on the same footing. I guess my question is about the 2 data points that you're going to be tracking. Do you measure those throughout the year, or is that only how are you going to gauge where you are just if you need to course correct?
Yeah, so kindergarten's a little tricky, right? Because we don't test them right away, obviously, and they don't really, going through the foundations program, they don't necessarily get through all the letters until November, sometime in November, December-ish. So we don't even have a beginning of year data point for them. So we do have a mid-year and an end year, but there are kiddos after they finish that first foundations cycle and get all the way through all the letters, that's when some of the kiddos start getting pulled by reading teachers if it is becoming evident that they need a little bit more. And so they do get tested throughout so we can kind of see some of the progress that they're making. But those 2 data points are interesting because sometimes it shows that they know the letter sounds, but they don't necessarily know how to put them together, right? And that's a totally different skill in and of itself. So some kids come to us knowing all of their letter sounds, but can't put them together, so.
So I was very pleased to hear about your survey thoughts. And I was just wondering, so I gather you didn't do that last year?
Correct.
At the end of year 1? So
Yes.
this would be the inaugural
Yes,
version?
actually got it from Mrs. Johnson, her idea of talking to her 5th graders at the end of last year in terms of what they're going to miss and different things that they take away from elementary school, right? I think we learn the best from our students about what makes them feel like they belong and what's lacking or what more we could do for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is this survey only for students or a specific cohort of students, or would it be out for the parent and caregivers?
Well, parents, I feel like I was going to give one in terms of engagement and what they're looking for from the district. From the building. Could be similar questions, but the belonging one, I was looking more at the students themselves. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I feel like. And in theory, I think it could work well with the SEL program when the counselor is in there with them, and potentially I could go in with the counselor and kind of talk through some of the questions of what we're wondering from them to kind of gauge how they're feeling.
Okay. So again, I think it's a wonderful idea, and then you could, you won't know until you actually go through the exercise probably, but if the survey was consistent from year to year, then you could absolutely have, again, sort of a year-to-year tracking and basis for that.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
That was all I had. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kelly. Next up, we have Principal Johnson, Malta Ave.
Thank you. Thank you, Principal Cataldo. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here this evening to review with you our Malta Avenue goals for the 25-26 school year. I know this first slide is going to look familiar. We always start at Malta Avenue with our shared vision and purpose. which is to make sure that we're working as a collaborative community to foster a school culture where our students receive an excellent education. We ensure student and staff wellness, and then we work to ensure that all of our students and families and staff members feel a strong sense of belonging. So all of our work and our goals are related to this vision and mission. So similar to years past, our goals process is very much the way it was for the past couple of years, where we start with a staff survey in the spring. Our building leadership team then meets to review the survey results, and we begin to draft our goals for the year. And then over the course of the summer, I also work to analyze our academic achievement and growth data, and then continue to work on achievement and growth goals for the school year. So our 4 goals this year, again, similar to previous years, we have a goal related to the Malta Way. We have a goal related to increasing sense of belonging for our school community. We have goals related to academic growth and achievement, as well as a goal to target chronic absenteeism. So the Malta Way, a goal that is near and dear to the hearts of our Malta Avenue community. We are working to ensure that our Malta Avenue students can articulate and demonstrate the Malta Way. And this year specifically, we're looking at how we can measure this goal. Of course, we want our students being respectful towards one another and being kind towards one another, but we are specifically going to look at behavioral referrals over the course of the next 3 years. Specifically, we are going to be looking at referrals related to disrespect. And the goal is that over the course of the next 3 years, those referrals decline significantly. So the Malta Way, I know I've talked quite a bit about this over the years. We have done quite a bit over the past couple of years to target this goal. Specifically, we work to explicitly teach school-wide expectations to our students. We are continuing with that work this year. We talk to our students about what their behavior should look like in the hallways and the cafeterias, what it really means to follow the Malta Way in those specific locations, and then we reteach those expectations as needed. We also have worked, our school counselor has worked at creating classmate contracts with students where she goes into each classroom. She talks to students about the 2 choices when we're at Malta Avenue. We can be classmates or we can be friends, but we're not going to be enemies with each other. And so again, really talking about what it looks like to follow the Malta Way. We are continuing our work with talking to students about what it actually looks like and feels like to follow the Malta Way as it relates to how we treat one another. Mrs. Palmer and I, over the past 2 years, have gone into classrooms in grades 2, 3, 4, and 5, where we talk to students about this concept. We also talk about the Dignity for All Students Act. And this year, we are going to continue to work on that, but we're also going to do this through the form of circles as well. I know we've talked a lot about circles over the past year or so, but we really want our students to hear from one another regarding the impact that unkind behavior can cause, allow students to talk a little bit more openly about how it feels to truly respect one another, truly feel a sense of belonging. So our goal this year is to get into each classroom between 2 and 3 times to, again, continue to talk about the Dignity for All Students Act, but also to facilitate that in a more meaningful way through circles. Our other exciting action step for this year is we want to get more student feedback. So our goal is to create a Malta Way student club where we hear from our students about different ways that we can help all of our students follow the Malta Way and hear more feedback from students on how we can increase sense of belonging. Last year, we got great feedback from our 5th graders about things that we can do to help others follow the Malta Way and to help others feel a sense of belonging. So that is goal 1, which we are excited to continue. Goal 2, it involves creating and fostering that sense of belonging. So again, our goal is to measure this through surveys. As you'll recall, this past year, all of our students in grades 3 through 12 took a culture and climate survey. We would like to continue to give a survey to students in grades 3 through 5 to, again, hopefully see that sense of belonging is slowly increasing over the years. Additionally, we want to gain more information from students through the use of circles. We found that surveys are a great start, but then you have to really talk to students to get more street data on how they're feeling and how we can improve sense of belonging. So we've started this year by reviewing with staff members our feedback, both from the surveys that were administered last year. We also talked with staff about our 5th grade feedback that they provided me as well as our school counselor in the spring. And our building leadership team is now working to use that feedback to try some kind of smaller things to increase sense of belonging that our students actually suggested. Again, we're really jumping into circles this year at Malta Avenue. Our school counselor is taking the lead with that. She is going to facilitate a circle once a month in each class, utilizing the SEL block that is already in existence in the schedule. And then as I mentioned in the last slide, Mrs. Palmer, our school counselor, and I are also going to implement circles in our 2nd through 5th grade classrooms related to the Dignity for All Students Act and treating all students with respect. So we are very excited about our circles work. And then finally, another big bit of excitement at Malta, one of our BLT, our Building Leadership Team subcommittees, focuses specifically on belonging and sense of community. And this group is working on a monthly cultural celebrations and spotlight calendar. So that each month we can highlight different groups and celebrate the diverse community that we have. So for example, in November, it is Native American Heritage Month, and so we are going to create another beautiful bulletin board. Big shout out for our PTA. We have some amazing PTA members on our Building Leadership Team subcommittee, and when we talked about this goal back in September, we had some PTA members who came in the next morning at 6:45 and created the most gorgeous bulletin board in our hallway, specifically related to Hispanic Heritage Month. So again, our goal with this is to put on morning announcements for our students where they can learn about different organizations and groups and cultures. Academic achievement and growth goals, similar to Principal Cataldo, this is one that I think we've talked about a lot as an administrative team. I've also had many conversations with staff members about how to create meaningful academic growth and achievement goals. We want goals that teachers are excited about. We want goals that really show where our students are and where we want them, the goal that we want them headed towards. So we have 3 goals in this area. The first one is a 1st grade goal. So by the end of 1st grade, we want 90% of our students scoring proficient or advanced on the Dibbles Oral Reading Fluency Assessment. I'll talk a little bit about the why behind these goals in just a minute. And then grades 2 through 5, we want 70% of our students to achieve their typical growth score as measured by end-of-year assessments from one year to end-of-year assessments to the following year. And then the long-term goal is to look at students in grades 3, 4, and 5 and make sure that our goal is that 75% of our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students will score proficient or advanced as measured by ELA iReady assessments. And then our goal is that 80% of our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are proficient or advanced as measured by iReady assessments. So I know that was a lot. I'll talk just briefly about the why behind this goal or behind these goals. The first one, our Dibbles Oral Reading Fluency Assessment. In K and 1st grade, our goal, right, we provide the foundational ELA reading skills to our students, right? Our goal is to make sure they know their letters and their sounds and they start blending letters and sounds together to make words. So the big focus is making sure that our students are becoming fluent by the end of 1st grade. Then as we jump to second, third, fourth, and fifth, we can shift more to comprehension and making meaning of text. So we did have this goal last year. The goal was set at 90%, which we didn't quite reach, but 83% of our first graders were proficient or advanced on the ORF assessment. Let's see, the academic achievement and growth scores. So our goal for this coming year is that 70% of our students in grades 2, 3, 4, and 5 meet their typical growth score on iReady. So in previous years, I've talked about our typical growth as measured from beginning of year to end of year in one school year. We've had some great conversation, dialogue, discourse about some of the challenges with beginning of year assessments. Oftentimes our students come back from summer break and they haven't been reading, and we have a little bit of that summer slide. So sometimes our beginning of year assessments aren't quite as accurate as we would like them to be. So instead of looking at beginning of year to end of year, we're going to look at a student's end of year. Let's say the student is currently in third grade. We're going to look at their second grade end of year score. And again, our goal is for them to make at least 1 year's worth of growth by the end of their third grade year. So again, it's that end of year to end of year. And then our long-term goal, again, is to ensure that 75% of students are able to, in third, fourth, and fifth grade, score proficient or advanced on iReady ELA, and then we're looking at 80% in math. So this is looking at all students 3, 4, and 5. The reason that we set this goal is because overall our iReady scores correlate pretty closely to New York State assessment scores, at least at Malta Avenue. So we know that iReady is a very good indicator for our building as to how our students are going to do on New York State assessment scores. This is a quick snapshot of our iReady scores in grades 3, 4, and 5. So those 3 grade levels combined. This is for math. So you'll see in 22-23, 72% of all of our third, fourth, and fifth graders were proficient or advanced. 23-24, that number jumps to 77. And then 24-25, that number is back down to 75. So our long-term goal over the next 3 years is to get that number up to 80% of all third, fourth, and fifth graders. And then again, our hope is that that will also be mirrored on our New York State assessment scores. ELA, for iReady reading, our scores are a little bit lower overall. So 22-23, we were at 60% proficient or 68% proficient or advanced, 23-24, 67, and then back up to 68. So our goal over the course of the next 5 years is to move all of our students in 3 through 5 up to that 75% mark. All right, our last goal, similar to what the other building principals have spoken about, is this consistent chronic absenteeism goal. So I won't review what Principal Cataldo just shared with everybody. I will say at Malta Avenue, in addition to that shared goal at Malta Avenue, we are, continuing sort of the processes and procedures that we started last year. We were able to create a attendance protocol document that we shared with all staff, which really kind of lists, what to do when a student is absent for 5 days, if they reach 10 days. So we are continuing with that right from the start of the year. Our attendance team at Malta Avenue has already met twice. In September, we reviewed students who were chronically absent the previous school year. We then communicated with teachers to let them know that they do have students who were chronically absent the year prior. Then we reached out to all families of students who were chronically absent the year before, and we've set up attendance meetings with those families to create attendance plans for their students. At this point, where we feel pretty successful, we have been able to establish and meet with about 90% of our families who were chronically absent the year before. So we are getting there. But again, we are hopeful that in working with the other elementary buildings, right, we'll only continue to improve our processes regarding attendance. Okay, and that is it. Any questions?
So that was wonderful. Thank you. Questions? Go ahead.
What is the, I guess, the number for chronic absent? What's the percentage from frequent?
So it ends up being, so it's students who were absent more than 10% of the school year, which ends up being about 18 days that they're out per year.
And that is
It can be excused or unexcused. It doesn't, yeah, per the state, it doesn't matter.
What's the purpose of doing the excused letter? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you bring in a parent doesn't excuse absence. Is that factored in? Or?
So it's all about open communication with the families, right? There are going to be times where families clearly communicate with us that their child has been sick over the course of the year. There are times where families, have other things that come up during the school year, and our goal is to have close communication with them. Whereas with some other families, we're not hearing from them, and right, that's sort of a different situation than a child who was seriously sick.
Man, I think an excused absence, especially at the upper levels, will allow makeup work and different assignments, whereas an unexcused potentially wouldn't do that.
Back to your first goal, where you want to decrease the behavior referrals for disrespect. Is that disrespect in general, or disrespect towards staff members, disrespect to other students?
So as of right now, it's disrespect towards anyone, so towards adults or towards students. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but one thing that we're working on, again, very clearly, is working on coding those referrals correctly. I think at the elementary level at Malta Avenue, for a variety of reasons over the course of the years, we were using very generic offenses. And then it was really hard to desegregate our data to see sort of the trends and the patterns. So our focus right now internally is to make sure when there are behavior incidents that we are really coding them correctly. And we're at the sort of initial phases of this goal. We're really looking to see, okay, now that we're coding correctly at the end of this year, what are we looking at in terms of total amount of referrals related to disrespect? And then we'll be able to tweak or amend the goal once we have that clear data.
Okay, so that makes me have another question. So when you say you're coding it a little, tweaking the coding, so do you now code, do you have a code now for disrespect, or
Yes.
is it insubordination?
Yes,
or?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So again, over the years, we were using the more generic, inappropriate school behavior, very, very generic offenses. And so now we're making sure that if we code something, if a student was being unsafe on the playground, we're really coding that as unsafe. If a student is blatantly disrespectful towards another student, we're coding that as disrespect.
Okay.
That's what we're really trying to clean up first, so we have a better sense of where our data is. And then the other piece too is on our report cards now, there is a place for staff members to communicate with families some of those behaviors they're seeing in school, not necessarily the specifics of what we put in a referral, but sort of their work habits in the classroom, and we're using that as a way to document as well.
Okay, thank you. I have
Yep.
one more question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your Malta Way Student Club, what age groups are able to join that, and about how many students do you have involved?
So we are in the very initial stages where we had our first meeting to discuss it at our BLT meeting. And at this point, what we're doing next is reaching out to some families, also to see what their ideas are. We really want to think this through very carefully before jumping right in. We'd love to offer it this as an opportunity to as many students as interested, but also want to make sure that we have clear guidelines and goals for the club. So more to come on that, but we are really at this point in our initial stages of it, with the hope of really starting the club, I would say middle of the year, once we're able to really thoughtfully plan through it.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Do you plan to have someone from the BLT committee chair the club, or do you plan to open it up to all your staff, or?
It'll be, so the way that clubs work is typically we need to, and I'll look over at Ms. Mottler, what we do first before we're able to pay an advisor is that we offer the club, the person who's leading the club is doing it voluntarily. So what we're looking to do this first year is really kind of plan and organize through BLT. I will certainly be working with the club, and then we're also going to be reaching out to families to see if there are any volunteers for this first year who are interested in volunteering with me as we facilitate the club. So it'll be planned through BLT, and then most likely I'll facilitate with parent volunteers, is the current goal and plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
I'd like to ask our student reps So you've heard two presentations, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on engaging students through surveys in the building. What are your thoughts on that?
We really like the idea of using surveys. I mean, that's usually what we do when we ask for the school's opinion, especially we've done a couple this year already on like game ideas for our pep rally and yeah, like song ideas at homecoming. We love to use surveys. It's usually the most efficient way to get all the students' input.
Yeah, I would agree that surveys are really good, especially if you're keeping it to older students, especially in the elementary schools. It can be really hard to give like younger kids surveys without guidance, because sometimes they can misinterpret the question or not exactly get what you're looking at, just because they don't understand this is like their first opportunity to be faced with this kind of thing.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
And finally, tonight, we have Principal Brant from Gordon Creek.
Thank you. Well, happy Board of Education Appreciation Week. Also, Brian, congratulations on the audit. I never had a doubt. No problem. And I'll also, since I have the floor now, I'm the sixth of all the principals to go, and hopefully you've noticed in your time, even just this year, we have a really good group of people. So I'll just speak on their behalf. They're a really great group to work with, really good people, good principals, really good people too. So I think we've got a good staff here at Ballston Spa. So the Gordon Creek goals for this year, you'll see some similarities to what I've done in the past. I did pare it down a little bit here, especially seeing that I was the fourth presentation of the night. So let's see if we can get moving here. So here's an overview of the goals. I pulled the page out of Dr. Chaucer's book and made sure I had some pictures of kids on there. So we have current students, then we have last year's graduating class when they came back to Gordon Creek to do their walk. So what we're trying to get to for all of our students, that meaningful diploma. So you'll see reading proficiency, math proficiency, some social emotional piece, and then of course the common attendance goal at the end. So a little bit of background. I saw this quote, I think this summer around when we were doing the goal work, and it made me think, and I wanted to share a little differently this presentation than I have in the past. But it isn't about having those options, it's about choosing one and laying down the rest. In education, I've also had it be put this way, like if you ask 100 people what's one thing they can do to improve a school tomorrow, you get 100 different answers. You can't do 100 different things. There's not enough resources, time, money, all those things. So how do we figure out with what's going well, what's not going well, how do we pare that down into some meaningful goals this year? So I've looked, trend-wise, what are some trends on ELA and math state tests, iReady, DIBELS, the goals that we've done over the last few years, how are cohorts progressing or not progressing, what are some patterns that I see. And ultimately what I tried to land on are goals that are meaningful, not just looking at the whole year like as an administrator, but how can I make it meaningful for teachers on a week-to-week, day-to-day type basis, what's measurable, and then hopefully, which this next slide will get to, is that we have the resources and the systems in place to help support those goals. So I shared this last year as well, so just a framework I share with my teachers and myself, just to put some things in categories. This is not an end-all, be-all type list, but when we're delivering instruction or helping with behaviors or attendance, what are our skills, what are our tools, and what's our attitude? And if we don't have what we need in these categories, how do we build it? Whether district's providing that, I'm providing it, the teachers are providing that, training, PD, all those different things. What systems are in place to support the teachers so that they can support the students and all the staff? So the first goal, reading proficiency. I did base this, again, I've done this now several years, on oral reading fluency in grades 1 through 5 and the word reading fluency in kindergarten. I feel like I should get into it, except you already heard it from my other principals. I don't know if I have to repeat what they said, but oral reading fluency is a big predictor of comprehension and reading success beyond that one test. So again, I looked at some trends over the years of what levels we've been able to hit, different cohorts as they travel through, and I picked some percentages there for proficiency, which hopefully we can hit. And some other areas that we're looking to tweak too is just some reminders for teachers. Like one of the biggest areas that we work on our oral reading fluency is during the shared reading block. So we actually had, I think Amy Prabhakaran had got a trainer from Bookworms in. We met with her. And while that took a lot of different pieces, there's a few that she mentioned about shared reading that I've then brought to my teachers. Just a couple of tweaks that can help to make sure that we're focusing on the oral reading fluency, whereas sometimes with the books, the length of the books, the topics, sometimes the discussion takes almost too much of a mind of its own, which is not a bad thing, right? We want to discuss these books, but we also want to make sure, especially for our younger readers, that we are practicing the fluency as well. If we skip that part, we rush that part, yes, we're going to get a lot of other things, but we're not going to build the fluency as we need to. So just some hopefully some small tweaks on top of what we already deliver day to day at Gordon Creek. The next one has to do with math, and this one, I didn't really have any numbers for you, and I struggled with this myself because Diane Irwin and I sat down this summer and we had a way to get some numbers, but we haven't been necessarily collecting the data in a way that I thought was meaningful enough to write some percentages on here. So we've been using Eureka Math Squared now for a couple years in the district, and Eureka Math for even longer than that. And a lot of that has common assessments and topic quizzes and that type of thing, but we haven't necessarily recorded them all in one place. So grades 3 through 5, they're computer-based. We've said to teachers at times, you can do them on the computer, you can do them on paper, they're grading them, they're recording the data, but it's not in a spot that I can have it. So one of the things that we're doing this year as part of this goal is at the end of every module in K through 5, those module assessment scores, the proficiency, will be kept in one place. So I'll have all of this data in one place as we go through this year. That will give me some better markers that I can then look at for the future years in terms of specific data on this chart. But the goal there will be to and have those specific module information, because what is that? That impacts the teachers now more on a day-to-day, week-to-week. Because now at the end of Module 1, we can look back, see how kids are doing. We can look back at the topic quizzes. We can look back at exit tickets. We can be a little bit more into the minutia or into the detail of it, whereas things like iReady in the past made it a little bit harder to drill down and say what's really going on in your class or with this group of children. So that's the goal. Hopefully that will work out. And I'll have some numbers for you at the end of the year. Social and emotional learning, a couple different parts. So this is our year 3 of primary project, the last of the year of the grants for us. Hopefully we'll obviously continue it past the grant, but we're going to continue that this year. We've had really good success, but I think I mentioned it last year, we lost our child associate in around March. So we have a new child associate this year. The structure is going to be a little bit different, but hopefully it still continues to be a great experience for those kids that can participate. And part 2, last year, I think I spoke about this last year as well, for all of our DCT teachers and TAs, we gave them a 2-day de-escalation type training. We're going to expand that to the rest of the staff. We just have to get that schedule, probably start in November, December. We're still onboarding staff now that would be included. So hopefully those 2 things will help us provide a better experience for the children and for the staff when they're dealing with a variety of different student social emotional issues. And some of the results we'll be looking at will be suspension data. So we're hopefully going to continue to make a positive trend in that realm as we did from 2 years ago to last year. Strong, healthy community for everyone. That's a long goal, but I couldn't think of a better title, but I think it's pretty explicit. So this is similar to what some of the other principals talk about in terms of their social emotional goals, but trying to take it outside of just the individual social emotional, but some of the larger practices in general that all of our kids are exposed to. So last year we kind of did a reboot on PBIS with how we did that with our committee. We're continuing that this year. Already had some good meetings. About 2 weeks ago we met with the committee, got some good things in place. Restorative practices you've heard now from a couple different groups. We were trying to partner with Mediation Matters. I thought we had an in, but it looks like we got deferred a little bit longer, so we're still working on that. But we are using them more consciously and proactively with discipline issues. Our counselor, similar to what Sarah said, will be doing some circles in the classrooms, bringing that to the children. I've done a few different restorative things with staff in different staff situations, like faculty meetings and BLT, not like conflict type situations, just to make sure we're using the language and using some of the practices. So nothing that they have to do yet, but we want to make sure that the kids are seeing it when it's needed and also modeling it from the counselor, myself, the admin aide, in day-to-day. And again, similar to what we're looking for in terms of the key results, I think suspensions are going to be a good indicator of whether these things are working or not. And then the last one has to do with attendance. This is now the fourth time you've heard it from an elementary principal, so I won't have to read the slide to you, but we will be looking at this. One tweak that I've looked at Gordon Creek, so it's slightly different, is looking at the chronically absentee students, and then what's the impact on their academics. Because like I said, we don't know why they're out, or we might know why they're out. If there's absolutely no academic impact, we just have to weigh our priorities in terms of how we're trying to address it. And that's just one of the factors that we take a look at. So that is the Gordon Creek goals presentation for this school year. Questions?
Well, thank you very much.
Of course.
Do we have questions from the board members?
Your Eureka Math Squared, when you say a module, so for example, in fourth grade, do all fourth grade teachers at Gordon Creek give the exact same module test?
Yes.
Do all fourth grade teachers across the district give the same module test?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'll direct any further questions to Diane Irwin. No, I'm just kidding. I saw her over there. But.
Well, you're the only one mentioning that
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
As like that's how you're measuring it, so
Yep.
I was curious about that.
No, that's consistent. K-5. They all give the same, the topic quizzes are the same, the module assessments are the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? All right, so I want to add to your thoughts about that.
Yeah.
I first of all, I applaud. I think that's great in terms of looking at the each module individually, looking at the results of them, having like a granular, because that's very immediate, strikes me as being very immediate.
Yeah.
So how are you defining success with your effort to do that? Is this year just like the data collection part of it, or is there some level of achievement you're looking for? And if there's some level of achievement, like where does that come from? Like how do you know how to set the expectations
Yeah.
for where the students' achievement should be within each of these modules?
Yeah.
Is there any historical, anecdotal data, or just
It's a great question.
what are you doing with this?
So that's to show we don't have the historical data consistently enough for all the grade levels. So I was trying to go back to your first question before the data part. So I think success this year would be, we'll get the percentages, we'll have the process, the procedures down for this, and that will facilitate and foster conversations about it, which I know that's not like you know me, I'm up here usually with data, so that's not a data thing, but I think that will be a productive year for this year. In terms of one thing that we will compare it to that Diane and I worked out this summer is we did look at what data we had for some of the grade levels and some of the teachers that we had, and that gave us an idea. We also looked at iReady and kind of looked at what did iReady say was a percentage of last year's fourth graders that at the end of the year were proficient in math in general. And so that again gave us like, all right, if 65% of last year's fourth graders were all proficient on iReady at the end of the year, that could give us a target of, we expect at least 65% to be proficient coming in, if that makes sense. But we don't have a module by module number that I could base it off of, which is why I did what I did.
Because that's the iReady at the end of the year, as you've said, well, that's the end of the year, but it'd be nice to kind of know which way to steer the ship in order to get there with the modules. So I could see just the data collection piece of it being valuable for this year, because I would assume that some modules have greater success rates than other modules, maybe due to content placement during the year or whatever. So you're going to have to figure all that out.
Yes, sir.
So do you have staff members like owning this process? Because as you said, like we're doing this and we have this, and then talking about it and then figuring out how to make it consistent, useful, et cetera. I would think, if you have champions within your staff to do that, that would be a big help, I think.
I would agree. We definitely have some people that kind of take the lead in different areas on math instruction, whether it's been asked upon them or they just like that and they go that way. Our math AIS people are fantastic and love having those conversations with grade levels to help support. And what we'll be able to do, I think, once they have to have ownership over the process as a teacher, right? They're teaching, the kids are taking the test, they're grading the test, they're seeing that. and that will give them feedback that they may not have had before, or in a matter that they haven't had before. So hopefully that will help foster the conversations. And we'll see who comes out of that as maybe someone who would like to champion it, on top of the ones that we already have that are, I could name, 3 or 4 teachers that are, when their team does planning for math, they're the people that they go to and do a lot of that work.
Okay, thank you. And then you had it on the slide, so talk to me about intentionally intention.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So something I shared with my staff at the beginning of the year is like tension can be seen like we don't want to be in tension. It sounds like stress, but a lot of what we do, we're always in tension. There's something that, we're getting pulled in different directions. Just as a classroom teacher, like you're trying to fit all of these things in, there's tension involved. There's some push and some pull. The kids have a tension in terms of you want to stretch them, you want to push them, but not too far, right? So the idea of if we are going to live in tension, because that's life, so let's be intentional about what that is and what our priorities are.
Okay,
makes sense.
thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks, Don. You're welcome. That does conclude the superintendent's report.
All right, and yes, I'd just like to thank all of the principals for putting together these presentations, helping us understand their thoughts and their goals for the year. And of course, we look forward to the interim and end of the year summaries of where they're at. And as Principal Brandt shared there, we've got a very good leadership staff out there, and we appreciate them very much. So that was all great. Committee reports. We did have a audit committee meeting tonight, and the audit committee meeting was solely about the presentation in great detail of the external audit from Weston Company. So during the future meetings for the audit committee, and we'll probably have a next meeting in December, we'll be talking about other items in terms of things like reserves, district reserves, and then other audits that are coming up in the rest of the year. We don't have any other committee reports, right? Correspondence to the district.
We had 3 total this time frame, 2 calls, one regarding transportation, one regarding parking during football games, and an email regarding dismissal at the high school.
Okay. And since the last meeting, the board has received 1 email regarding a student matter, 1 email regarding school activities. And now we are at our announcements. Ms. Delaney Elliott, welcome.
Good evening. The Parents as Partners webinar series returns tomorrow for this school year. Topic for tomorrow is co-parenting, strategies for making it work for the sake of the kids. These webinars will be at 6:30 p.m. You need to register for the webinars. You don't have to attend the webinar while it's live at 6:30, but you need to register. If you don't attend live, you'll get a link still the following day. The links will be good for the remainder of the school year. Also tomorrow, there'll be a webinar offered by SUNY Binghamton and Tompkins Cortland Community College. It's Empowering the Transition, Helping Students with Disabilities Prepare for College. Details and registration information for this webinar are located on the special education webpage off the district site under the Parent Resources tab. October 20th will be the second Parents as Partners webinar. That topic is ways to encourage a love of reading and strengthen your early readers' literacy skills. Saturday the 25th, New York Tech Valley Robot Rumble will be held here at the high school from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. Also on the 25th, Scotty's Closet and Community Resource Fair will be held from 9 till noon at the middle school. November 3rd will be the third Parents as Partners webinar, and that topic is strategies for developing executive function skills at every developmental stage. And our next Board of Ed meeting will be November 5th.
Thank you. Old business? Any old business from the district? No. Old business from the board? Moving on to our new business. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 224, the 2024-2025 fiscal year independent audit report?
So moved.
And this was the audit report, the presentation that was just done from Weston Company. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 224 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 225, agreement, professional services.
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 225 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 226, establish award.
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 226 passes. May I have a motion to approve resolution number 227, establish award.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes. I am the chairperson for the Golf Booster Club, so I will be abstaining from this vote.
Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One abstention, noted.
Abstain, yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 227 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 228, obsolete equipment.
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 228 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 229, placement of students with disabilities.
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 229 passes. I have a motion to approve resolution number 230, placement of preschool students with disabilities.
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolution number 230 passes. Resolutions number 231 through 244 are recognized as a consent agenda for the purpose of Board of Education action. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, resolutions number 231 through 244?
So moved.
Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda, resolutions 231 through 224 passes. And I just want to recognize a couple of people in our audience who are part of the consent agenda. Ms. Zadrozny achieved tenure. Congratulations. And Ms. Stark is appointed as a TA, and welcome to the district, and congratulations. Thank you for joining us. Any other new business from the district, from board members? All right. We have any representation from our associations? I do not believe so. How about our community liaisons?
I have an announcement from the Ballston Spa Education Foundation. We are starting to collect donations for our auction, which is always held the weekend after Thanksgiving, so it aligns with Giving Tuesday. And if you or anyone you know is willing to offer a donation or a service that you might have or be interested in donating, please feel free to reach out to the Ballston Spa Education Foundation on their website or their Facebook page, or to me. And any donations would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Wonderful. From BACC, BARC. All right. I have some PTA announcements. From our middle school PTA, the book fair is this Monday the 20th through Thursday the 23rd. Looking for volunteers, including setup and takedown. For those of you who ordered through their fall fundraiser, those orders can be picked up the week of November 3rd. And Thursday, November 13th, they're doing a dine to donate at the Speckled Pig. The Gordon Creek PTA, they're holding a trunk or treat Saturday, the 18th, this Saturday from 2 to 3:30. They're looking for volunteers. You can sign up on their Facebook site. The Malta Avenue PTA, their book fair also this week, Monday the 20th through Thursday the 23rd. Wednesday night, the 22nd, is a family night. Families can shop at the book fair, 4:30 to 6:30. They are certainly always looking for volunteers, including setup and takedown. Malta Avenue PTA next meeting is November 4th. Milton Terrace PTA, they're having a trunk or treat event on Saturday, this Saturday, October 18th as well. Theirs is in the morning from 10 to 12 in the bus loop. We're looking for both student and adult volunteers. There's a sign up in their newsletter. Our next meeting is November 6th at 6 p.m. We'll include pizza and a presentation by Superintendent Duca on the upcoming capital project. And that next meeting, oh, I already said that, November 6th. Wood Road PTA. They're having a family photo fundraiser this Saturday, the 18th, from 9 a.m. to 12. You can make an appointment on their Facebook side. Professional photographs and nice settings. Book fair Tuesday, the 21st through Friday, the 24th. Their next meeting, oh, that's not right. Cross that out. Trunk or treat Sunday, the 26th, from 1:30. And they are looking for volunteers to sign up on their Facebook site. We're now at the second time for public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? We do not. We do not have reason to go into executive session, so we will be adjourning for good. And our next meeting, Wednesday, November 5th. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for watching in the live stream. Thank you very much for those of you in attendance in person.